Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of looking at sources across, a week or a month, we've basically frozen time. We are analyzing just one single rapid-fire global news broadcast from December 18th, 2025. So think of it as like a satellite photo of what the world was worried about all at once.
Exactly. And the mission here is to move past just the headline shock. We want to find the threads connecting, say, a conflict in Southeast Asia with record climate data from the Arctic.
And a tragedy in the Mediterranean, and volatility in global finance. It's a lot.
It is. The world doesn't really deal with one crisis at a time, and a single day's summary makes that abundantly clear.
Okay, let's unpack this. But before we really dive in, just a quick moment for our partners. This deep dive is brought to you by ProCare Hanoi. They're the phone and laptop repair shop that the expat community really trusts. Fast service, clear communication, and honest advice, which is exactly what you need when your tech starts to sweat. And, speaking of keeping things running, this show is a real labor of love. So if you found value in any of our deep dives, I'd love your support. Buy me a coffee is the absolute simplest way to just say thanks, and trust me, every single cup keeps me going. Just scan the QR code in the cover art. And to everyone who's already supported, a huge, huge thanks. You're really fueling this journey. So we have to start with the most devastating part of the broadcast. The immediate human cost of all this geopolitical instability and the sheer concentration of it in just 24 hours it's staggering, starting with Myanmar.
Yeah, the reports from Myanmar are just profoundly disturbing. The source highlights a really horrific, specific event. It was an airstrike launched by the Tatmadaw,
which is the military junta that took power there.
That's right. And they launched it on a crowded tea shop in the Sagaing region.
A tea shop. And the numbers, they really confirm just how indiscriminate the attack was. We're talking at least 18 civilians killed, 20 wounded.
Yeah. And while the junta, they claimed they were targeting rebel forces.
Of course.
The report makes it very clear that there's just no substantiation for that claim at all.
It wasn't some remote military target. It was a popular place where people gather.
And that's the crucial thing to understand here. It's about the tactical shift. Rights groups are calling this part of a worsening pattern. When you start targeting civilian hubs like a tea shop, you're moving beyond battlefield objectives. You're trying to destabilize social life itself.
To break morale.
Exactly, to break morale in areas held by the opposition. It's a sign of just how brutal the conflict is getting as it enters its 5th year.
So if that tragedy shows an internal collapse from state violence, the next story shows the external fallout, the desperation. We're shifting gears now to the Mediterranean Sea.
And this is just a heartbreaking juxtaposition. At least 18 migrants drowned, including women and children.
How did it happen?
Their overcrowded dinghy it capsized off the coast of Crete overnight. And they've only found 2 survivors so far.
And the timing on this is it's almost too cruel.
Yeah.
This happened on International Migrants Day.
It did. It turns a day that's meant to honor contributions into this stark reminder of what the UN called the human cost of desperate journey.
So who's getting the blame?
Well, the Greek authorities are pretty naturally blaming traffickers for using these unsafe boats.
And that feels too simple.
It is. I mean, if you connect this back to what's happening in Myanmar and other global flashpoints, blaming only the traffickers, it doesn't really capture the scale of the problem.
Right.
So UN agencies are renewing their calls for safe pathways and, this is the critical part, for shared international responsibility.
But is that a realistic call? Or is it just, political rhetoric? I mean, when the whole world is consumed with internal conflicts like the one in Myanmar, what mechanism is even there to enforce that kind of cooperation?
That's the challenge, isn't it? The link is systematic. Severe geopolitical instability, whether it's from war or climate collapse or repression.
It fuels the migration.
It fuels the streams. So as long as those root causes are there, these dangerous routes are going to remain profitable for traffickers. The call for shared responsibility is basically an admission that without fixing the why, these tragedies are just inevitable.
And that sense of anxiety is just hammered home by a couple of other quick, awful statistics from this same day's broadcast.
Yeah.
A bus plunge in Colombia, 17 students lost their lives. Just a horrible reminder of random chance.
An infrastructure failure.
Right. And then something much more deliberate. Saudi Arabia hitting a grim milestone of 340 executions for the year.
Surpassing last year's record.
Yeah.
So when you bundle all of that together in a single 24-hour cycle, the airstrike, the capsized boat, the bus crash, and the state-sanctioned violence, You get this really unsettling picture of global mortality risk. It sets a very heavy stage.
It really does. And that heaviness brings us to our next major theme. It's a stressor that's, quieter than a bomb, but maybe far more existential.
Yeah.
Climate change. And on this, the source material had a data point that is genuinely alarming. It sort of changes the whole conversation.
It really does. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, they confirmed it. 2025 was the Arctic's hottest year on record.
Okay, so let's get into that specific metric because the number itself really tells the story. What was the deviation?
Okay, so temperatures in the Arctic region were confirmed to be, get this, 1.6 degrees Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 baseline.
1.6, that sounds huge.
It's catastrophic. I mean, it may not sound massive to a layperson, but for the Arctic, where the warming rates are already several times faster than the global average, a 1.6 degree spike is a massive acceleration.
So why is that? Why is a spike in the Arctic so much more alarming than, say, a similar rise globally? We need to understand the physics of it.
It's all about feedback loops. The Arctic is basically the planet's refrigerator.
Right.
So that 1.6 degree spike means the ice is melting faster. That reduces the amount of white surface that reflects sunlight back into space. That's the albedo effect.
So instead of reflecting, the new dark ocean water is absorbing the heat.
Exactly. Which causes even more melting. It's a vicious cycle. And it accelerates sea level rise, it messes with ocean currents.
So what's the biggest long-term danger here? What's the potential tipping point they mentioned?
The most alarming part is the threat to the permafrost.
The frozen soil.
The frozen soil that's been locked away for thousands of years, it holds massive stores of organic material, and this heat threatens to unleash methane.
Which is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
Yeah, far more effective at trapping heat. So if that methane gets released at scale, the whole process could just blow past these crucial, irreversible tipping points. A rapid transition would become almost certain.
And that's the real danger. Crossing a threshold where our policies just can't control the outcome anymore.
Yep.
So a data point like this, it immediately ramps up the pressure for real, bolder action ahead of the next COP negotiations. You can't credibly say the warming is gradual anymore, not with a 1.6 degree deviation in the planet's freezer. Okay, let's shift gears completely. From the physical environment to the financial one, which, maybe predictably, is reflecting all this anxiety. The markets slid again on this day.
They did. The volatility continues. The source mentioned the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ extending their losses, and Asian stocks had opened lower.
And the fear is palpable. But what's interesting is how specific the fear was.
That's the key. It wasn't just general inflation or interest rates, though those are always there. The primary fear driving this particular dip was anxiety around the AI bubble.
The AI bubble.
That's right. Tech giants like Oracle were apparently dragging the indices down. And the concern was about data center infrastructure.
So investors are getting nervous.
Very jittery. They love the idea of the AI revolution, but they're starting to question if the underlying physical stuff, the power, the cooling, the chips, the actual real estate, can support these soaring valuations.
But wait a minute, isn't that just a solvable problem? I mean, infrastructure usually catches up to demand. Is this just psychological fear, short-term profit-taking?
That's the perfect question. And the broadcast actually gives you the other side of the story almost immediately. To balance out all that pessimism, it highlights this huge technological win that was happening at the same time.
Okay.
SK Hynix scored a major victory. They got Intel certification for these massive 256 gigabyte DDR5 server modules.
All right, break that down for us. 256 gigabyte DDR5. Why should you care about that?
Okay, so DDR5 is the latest generation of RAM for servers. And 256 gigs in a single module. That is huge. To train the kind of complex AI models driving this boom, the large language models, the generative systems, you need incredibly dense, incredibly fast, and power-efficient memory.
So this certification is basically a signal.
It's a huge signal that the tech required to build these next-gen data centers is progressing and fast.
So you have this tension. The market is worried about the cost of scaling AI. But at the same time, the actual innovation needed to build that out is accelerating.
Precisely. The market is pricing in the fear of a future shortage, but the engineers are actually delivering the components to fill that gap. It's a classic tension. Wall Street betting against Silicon Valley, even as the innovation is happening in real time.
And moving away from the purely digital for a second, there was another note of real-world innovation in the broadcast.
Right, the Toyota Group?
Yeah, they're pushing forward with the Museum Yokohama, an immersive mobility experience opening in Japan. It's just a reminder that even on a day full of conflict and financial jitters, the experience economy keeps moving.
Yeah.
And it's important to pause and recognize that. Life and culture, they do continue. We have a quick roundup of culture and sports that, well, it reminds us of our shared humanity.
The Golden Globe nominations, for instance, they dropped on this day, and they're a perfect reflection of just how globalized our media landscape has become. That wasn't really true even a decade ago.
That was the detail that really struck me. The Korean film One Battle After Another. It led all films with 9 nominations.
Incredible.
While HBO's The White Lotus topped the TV side, but maybe the biggest sign of the times.
The podcast category.
Podcasts got their first category, finally acknowledging audio content like this deep dive.
And on the sports front, you've got these moments of global celebration. Ousmane Dembele named FIFA Men's Player of the Year.
And the college football bowl season is kicking off, which for millions of people is just a shared, low-stakes distraction and community.
Yeah.
Now, this is where the script, I think, connects things beautifully. It intentionally loops back to one of the darkest points, that tragedy off Crete on International Migrants Day. But it does it to end on a note of resilience. It creates this essential contrast.
It does. Despite all the danger and the desperation, the broadcast reminds us that migrants aren't just statistics. They are an economic and cultural force.
Right. Enriching cultures, filling labor gaps.
And driving development in their home countries through remittances. It's a huge economic driver.
And the UN women highlight in the broadcast these stories of resilience, of women leading change in their new homes. It really underlines that these communities are also drivers of innovation.
And the closing quote they use just sums it all up. Not catastrophe, but contribution. We don't just cross borders, we build bridges.
It connects the movement of people not to chaos, but to shared growth, to that persistent human drive to seek a better life and contribute to it.
Exactly.
So when you pull it all together, what does it all mean? In synthesizing this one single day, December 18th, 2025, you see these 3 colossal pressure points all operating at the same time.
Yeah.
You have geopolitical collapse and its deep human cost. You have the climate acceleration shown by that terrifying 1.6-degree spike. And you have the financial and technological anxiety that results from it all.
And the convergence is the key takeaway. You can't treat them as separate issues anymore. Instability in Myanmar, Arctic melt, AI valuation fears, they all feed into one single system of global anxiety and risk.
And that leads us to our final provocative question for you to think about this week. How does this increasing scientifically confirmed pressure from climate events, I'm talking about the prospect of massive methane release from that Arctic feedback loop, how does that interact with market stability?
Yeah, does a seemingly abstract climate metric, like the speed of Arctic warming, does that become the next market crash indicator?
Will investors start trying to price in the cost and the timing of a permafrost methane release, just like they price in geopolitical risk in the Middle East?
It's a compelling link, and an increasingly relevant one between the physical world and the financial world.
Something to keep in mind, absolutely. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive. We hope this snapshot helps you feel well-informed and ready to explore these connections further. We'll catch you next time.